Mm. Oh yeah.
Oh, oh,
No,
oh. You know who it is.
we're live, guys. I posted it. It's
Oh,
posted.
so because you say we live, we are live.
Yes, that's how that works, right? There's not like technology involved or anything, right?
No.
Hey, we always live. That's how it is. Oh.
We live.
Okay, Google, go live. Bad publicity. Oh, shit.
It works.
Too bad we use Alexa in this house.
Oh, no.
We use Alexa here.
Now we've done it.
This video cannot be monetized.
Nope. Rip. Change it all. Burn it down.
What up?
2018. It's a new year.
Hey.
It's bad publicity. Same day, new time. Guys, so excited for what's coming. We finally, hats off or on to all those people that stuck through us as we grinded out through a very dry spell with Android Netrunner. We were still, filling the channel with as much content as we felt we could without stretching too thin. So that is that a good way of saying?
Yep, but then the Bogfather arrived for a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, and delivered onto us a new cycle of new exciting cards. Praise the Bogfather.
And yeah, and it's the new time. It's the rotation. It's oh my god! It's so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to get into this.
Nice.
So we're gonna break some stuff down here as we do get back into some looking at the new cards. This is the Kitara Cycle. This is the runner side of Sovereign Sight. This is interesting. Let me just rip some stuff. I'm gonna try and bring this up for you quick without popping any spoilers. So this says here too. Did I lose the whole thing? Oh no. So the theme here lays out. It looks like where was this supposed to be? Like Africa? Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. So it looks like there's a competing beanstalk going up.
A lot of tension, I think.
Yeah. So I hope
between...
that's not too much of a spoiler as I step through a little bit of the description here. This is members of the Sub-Sahara League, the SSL, work tirelessly to construct a new link between the world of dirt and the limitless expanse beyond space. Oh. But what's funny is it says here, man, I should have marked this.
Gotta get all that flavor.
Delicious flavor. Yeah. It's big. Jameson is like, I consider Jameson like ramen noodles, and like this is all just that flavor packet that you like sprinkle. Oh. And Jameson's just like I gotta get. Is there any more left in the packet? I gotta get all of it from the packet. I need it all. I need all flavors.
Need that MSG.
Yeah.
No, I can't find it, but it was this very funny line in here about that it basically just said each faction is going to get new cards. and I wanted to
really?
I wanted to quote it exactly. So so if you thought your faction wasn't going to get any cards this cycle, you were dead wrong. But I can't.
Well, hey,
I can't find it, man. I'm let down. So
we've already seen some evidence that when they say every faction, they mean every faction. So there's some hypeness for maybe some virtual entities out there. I've heard tell.
All right, so as we do the tier list breakdown in the description. If you're watching this at a later date, you'll be able to click on that, see where we currently stand with our list of cards. So let's get into this, man.
Woo!
I'm in.
Who's gonna be the card reader today?
I will. Not it.
I got it. Don't worry. I'm prepared. All right. Card 1 of the Kitara Cycle is By Any Means, which is an Anarch 5 influence. Woo! 2 cost, event priority sabotage. You're messing with you. Play only as your first click. And it has the very cool ability, until this turn ends, whenever you access a card not in archives, trash it at no cost, even if it cannot normally be trashed, and suffer 1 meat damage. Damn. Starting strong. Starting with a bang, I would say.
Yeah,
starting with an X.
How you feel?
Starting with a Malcolm X. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card is quite strong. I think it is occupying a similar spot that Stimhack does in a lot of Anarch decks, where it's like you might run one of them, but when you do and you drop it down at that right moment, it really shows up. Like, there are, I think, several combo-y different options for this card, but really those are kind of inconsistent. I think it's just a general use good card. If you find a turn where the corp has some high trash thing that's messing with you, or you've got a turning wheel loaded up, or maybe you know there's an Obokata protocol sitting at the bottom of that remote over there, you just pop By Any Means and you just go to town. And I think it can make a big splash in the turn that it's played. So, yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, it's good.
It very much feels like
hold on.
Oh.
What does that mean? You're saying, are you throwing a rating out already?
Woo. Yeah. Woo. I just stepped into the rating rating trap.
But when you say good, are you saying, like, are you classifying it in the good column?
Yes, I have. I've taken the time. I know I'm new to this whole bad pub thing, and I know you guys got this cool system. We've got great, good, above average, average, below average, and bad.
And then Hollis cards.
And then Hollis cards, yeah.
That's why he wears the red.
That's right. So I took a little time to make sure I knew, for me, what each one of those things meant, and I gotta say, definitively, I'm throwing out a solid good for By Any Means.
That's an interesting come out the gate pretty strong.
I'm a generally kind of positive guy. You'll find this about me. I don't like to talk trash on cards too often, so I'm going to skew a little higher, a little on the opposite side of Hollis, so we'll duke it out. Don't worry.
So some things I would like to consider, and hopefully maybe I can sway you down a little. Because I feel like right now this might sit for me like above average might be the stretch, and just for a couple things to weigh in on the card. I like the cost is fine. I don't have a problem paying the 2 credits. I'm really leery on these priority cards. Play as first click. I think that kind of hurts it just a little bit. I don't know why it needs to be that. Like, I think if it wasn't like that, I think you would want to play it on your first click, unless it's trying to balance it out. It's not like someone's going to be able to play this on, or it gives that reaction time, that buffer time to, that if you see something, like if I run somewhere or see something gets flipped up, at least the corp is getting some use out of it, and like I can't just be like next turn go in and trash that shit right away for free. So maybe that's why it's there, but I don't know, man. I've never really been a big fan of these play only as your first click cards, and the 5 influence is going to be a bit of a drawback on my weight on the card. If something's 5 influence, I really have to see that it is phenomenal, because I got to see how it plays and weighs that card across the other faction styles. So that kind of holds it back. The positives, I really feel that the meat damage is nothing really to worry about. Anarch is really set with meat protection. They have some of the best meat protection in the game. Still, nothing. They did not lose anything. They got mercs. They got you know, their old standard. Like, what am I talking about? It's shit. I've had worse.
I've had worse. Yeah.
You know, for some reason I wanted to old school throwback and just be like, you know, they had steel skin.
Yeah, you know, everyone knows, of course.
Steel skin. Right. Yeah. So they got Mercs and they got I've had worse. So they have that whole suffer 1 meat damage is not really too detrimental to it. But then again, so I do like the fact that play it until the turn ends whenever you access cards, and there's no May. Right. So,
which is cool.
So yeah, right. So that's something that you have to kind of consider about the card as well too, right? There's no May. It's like you access a card, trash it.
Right.
And that's for your whole turn. So you really have to kind of got to be ready for something like this. You got to cause some anarchic disruption, be ready to blow shit up for it. So that's why I can't really hold it as high as you're pushing it. I really feel like it's just tipping into the above average and possibly just average right now, right? Remember, this is a living tier list. We could see something later on, but right now I feel like it's going to have to be an average card for me.
Okay, let me hit you back with just one point, and then I want to hear Hollis's take on this, because this card, we're starting off a little controversial, but I want to give you a hot take here. I think this card is a sweet tech against Jinteki decks. If Jinteki decks are running the meta, this card is phenomenal, and I'll tell you why. Maybe it's not obvious at first, but if you're running into a trap, like a snare or an advanced Junebug or whatever, because your access effects happen first,
because
by any means
you are the active player triggers first.
Yeah, so by any means says you may trash it, and so you trash that snare, you trash that advanced trap, whatever it is, it's gone and it doesn't trigger. Likewise, if you've got an Obokata there and you're not prepared for the 4 net damage right now, you find an Obokata, you just say, cool, trash that, and then you pick it up when you're ready. Like, I just think that's so sweet that you can have situations where Jinteki's got you on the ropes, and as an Anarch, if you've set up the right I've had worse in hand or the right stuff on the board to soak some of that meat damage, I think that's such a nice counter in the right clutch moments, and it's going to be hard for the Jinteki player to play around that burst of power.
Yeah, well, I guess, who knows? Maybe deep down is the Jinteki player in me that's not wanting to like this card.
Okay,
but you know, there's ways.
There's
ways to build too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with multi-access and things like that. I do.
Right.
I have always liked Demolition Run. When you get a good Demolition Run, now so that means this card I feel is a lot better than Demolition Run because it's more flexible, because it's carrying on. You don't have to kind of get something to do. But there is and I don't like all the crazy combos that people are trying to do with it, because I feel that that's like aligning the stars. But throw to Hollis.
Well, I don't want to reiterate points you guys have already made. I think you both have made very good points. Something to note about the card is just that it is a priority event. So that means that you can only use it on your first click, which means it has some limitations imposed that are beyond just the first click limitation. What it means is you can't gain information on the same turn that you new information on the same turn you plan to use it. If you're going to use the card and have it be as effective as possible, you're going to use it based on information that you've gained before your turn begins. The card is installed, so you already know a card is there, so you're going to trash it as soon as you access it. You've seen the top couple cards of R&D, and your opponent hasn't overdrawn. You know that card's next. You're going to use this to make sure the card gets dumped. So in that way, not only is it just limited by the fact that you play it on the first click of the turn, but it's limited that you cannot use resources on that turn to help you determine the best way to use the card. You have to have a plan the moment your turn begins. As far as the meat damage goes, yeah, it's all right. It's whatever. I agree with you. We have there at this point, Anarch has enough mitigation where sometimes you actually might even just want to let it hit, just so you get a bigger benefit from taking the single meat. They've got breakers that install from your heap, so that also minimizes the negative effects. I mean, there are definitely instances where I think you would prefer taking that meat damage is a beneficial sort of scenario. So yeah, I think if I was going to rate the card, I think I would actually put this in. Oh man.
If you go above average, I can go above average.
I think I'd put it.
I do like
above average.
I do like the fact that like what you're talking about is playing around traps and stuff like that. Quick question though, like what about if Breach Dome is accessed and you're playing Jinteki? Does the ambush does that get trashed? If Breach Dome is accessed from R&D, the runner must reveal it. The runner accesses Breach Dome, do 1 meat damage, trash the top card of the stack.
I think, again, because it's on the runner's turn, that it's not going to trigger, and that by the time you...
It makes sense, because that's the trap aspect, right? Yeah.
Right. I also want to briefly point out, just a quick shout-out here, my buddy David Weeks and I, for a while, have been brainstorming this Anarch drug deck, and let me tell you, a drug deck could really use by any means, because one of the hallmarks of that is gaining extra clicks. So if you amp it up, get that stim dealer, you've got a
you talk about stim dealer, eh?
Yeah, stim dealer, man. You got a 6-click turn, you by any means, and you're off to the races. Like, you're trashing like crazy. So as far as a drug deck is concerned, I'm loving this card.
If you can come up with a better deck than Hollis and myself's unbeaten Theophilus Bagbiter Stim Dealer deck.
Oh, damn.
You can't deny the stats.
Live on this channel. Can't argue
Challenge
with the
accepted.
Record. Can't argue with the record, man.
Dude,
yeah. Nice.
Raw stats, bro. Raw stats. Yeah. You know what I mean?
All right, so I slotted it in above average.
Okay.
For now.
Solid.
All right, what do we got next?
You want me to keep this thing going?
Yeah.
Do your thing, man.
I gotta set the stuff.
We got Yusef here. It is a 1-cost 2 MU Anarch Program Icebreaker Fractor Virus. What? 2 influence. It says whenever you make a successful run, you may place 1 virus counter on Yusef, and it has a paid ability that's we've never seen before, which is spending a virus counter from any installed card to break barrier subroutine, and then virus counter from any installed card to add +1 strength. And it starts at 3 strength. Damn. Very interesting.
That's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I love the design of this card. I think
super cool.
I think it's so great to see the design team thinking outside the box with this interaction of virus counters. Although the problem with me is that I still feel that I don't know if the world is ready to give up on paperclip.
Sure. Yeah.
Right,
it's
like
so good.
so the problem. Okay, so the problem that I'm having, and I think this is going to be good. Like the interaction seems very efficient, right? But the problem with that I'm having is that paperclip's ability to be able to junk it and then go, I think is more valuable. If you skim through, like, and you look at the last card, they're really experimenting with meat damage in a different aspect with this cycle, and I love the space that they're going in with it. So being able to pull your breakers out free from, or any cards free from the trash is going to be probably pretty valuable. So to me, jumping right at this card right now, being 2 memory, I'm really going to have to see how the rest of the virus things kind of flush out. Because we don't have noise anymore, I feel the virus game is undefined.
Right.
I just don't think it's a space that is. It needs to be more explored, man. So.
Yep. I get that, and I think this is like the first step in that virus direction we've seen in a long time, and because of that. And because you're not really sure where we're going to get these virus counters from, yes, it makes one itself, but like the virus deck hasn't been a thing for a while. So finding out or figuring out where to start with that is really tough, I think. But I will say one of the benefits that is pretty clear to me looking at the card is that it's super cost efficient. It's only one to install, and you're not spending a single credit to actually use it. And the last time we saw a breaker out of Anarch that didn't use any credits, it got banned eventually in Faust, right? People remember Faust as this card of like, oh my gosh, Anarchs could leverage this other resource instead of credits to break ice. Like, that's really good. And now you've got something that creates its own resource and can benefit from resources you're generating elsewhere, all of which are not costing you credits. So I think there's something to be said there, particularly in combination with cards like Fester, which I've seen a little bit of online, of people dropping down 3 Fester and having virus shenanigans going on, and it can be pretty brutal. So I think this card has potential. I agree. It's not all the way there yet. I'd give it a solid above average just because I think it's got kind of raw built-in power potential, but the deck itself needs more pieces.
I would agree. I think that clearly the card is sort of double dipping here with how they expect you to use it and with what tools. The fact that it is 2 MU means that overall your rig is likely going to be smaller without additional MU sources. So cards that would generate virus counters in addition to Yusuf, you have less slots available for that. You really can't, you really can't do that a whole lot. And it makes me curious about the next pieces in this puzzle, right? Normally when they give us breakers, sometimes when they give us breakers, they give us a full suite of this. So I'm interested to see what the Code Gate one's going to look like, what the Sentry one's going to look like. Are they going to be spread across factions to actually tax the available influence in a deck that wants to use all of these? Looking at this card, it's 2 influence, so that's a pretty flexible influence level, I think.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is the expected suite at the end, when we're at the end of this, is the expected suite going to be you need to increase available MU and all these things are 2 MU? Is there going to be a single one that's kind of going to shine and combo with cards that generate virus tokens? Jameson, you mentioned that golden age of noise is gone, so virus, having a ton of viruses may seem a little less attractive now. But I also think that when noise was removed, I think there was a conversation we had talked with in waves, with Lucas and then Damon and then Boggs about ways to work with this power level and a different theme in Anarch, because it wasn't just like good stuff, right? And I think that this is their attempt to start pushing it towards that direction where now we want to have viruses en masse be a thing again, and it's not going to be this sort of like random RNG concept. It's a bit more volatile, it's a bit more controlled, where like the available options can become volatile when they all start stacking up. When you get to the point where you're like, okay, well, I've got this card that generates virus tokens, use of virus tokens, and I passively generate one whenever I access R&D. Well, I've got 6 virus tokens. That means I can bump up to a certain level, I can break up to a certain number of subroutines, and I have this limited but interesting flexibility. I think that's the direction they're going with this, and I really hope we see the big picture when this is all said and done. It's a very, very neat concept that works.
Yeah, so with rotation happening, I think there is a lot of cards out there that are untapped, that have kind of, been pushed to the side and shoved away. And what I'm talking about here is cards like Incubator, right? We have was it Virus Breeding Ground, Hive Mind. All these virus kind of interaction stuff that just never saw the light of day before, unless you were just playing for the fun times. So this virus game is a new game, man. It's the dawn of a new day, 2018. We'll see where this goes, and I'm excited, but right now I can't get behind this card. This is below average for me at the moment, just from better choices.
I want to do my now classic. Let me just say one more thing. One more way that this card is really quite cool in the modern decks, and I think that is as an accompaniment to a really powerful breaker that we've seen quite a bit recently, which is Amakua. If you're running the turtle-based deck, either at a Criminal or Anarch, or maybe even Shaper, having a low-cost Fractor that you could just slap down on the board to deal with wraparound, I think is really huge. And I've seen some Criminal decks, for example, who will splash Inti just to have like a Fractor that costs 0 they could just put down. And Yusuf sort of fills a similar niche, where if you're all in on that turtle strategy and you want to be able to deal with barriers as well, you're already like playing into the snowbally virus game, and Yusuf is there now as an option, a low cost option.
Are you trying to pull me up to average? Because I'm not going to go above that.
I'm just saying some facts.
Yeah.
We got a tiebreaker. We gotta figure out where Hollis is. That'll seal the deal.
So for me, I put this card squarely at average, and that's just because I don't know this. I don't know the complete potential. The truth is, someone smarter than I is going to have to be able to take a look at the existing breaker suites and say, "Hey, I'm going to build a suite that is more efficient than the existing suites that we already see in decks." And it has to be, number one, it has to be reliable or very, very close to being as reliable. And number two, it has to be as efficient. Because I think at the end of the day, breakers 9 times out of 10 pretty much only come down to like how, can I use them reliably? Are they going to stay on the board? And are they efficient to use when I break? And if they're not that efficient, I've got to make it up. Using virus tokens, because they don't actually, virus tokens becoming a secondary economy for it. we don't know how good that is yet when we're done. If there's enough virus tokens that can be built to where this now makes sense, well, excellent. But is this going to be straight better than using Paperclip and a whole other slew of, common reliable breakers that are also efficient? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't
totally
think
fair.
I think Paperclip's versatility is just better for the upfront cost that you have to pay for it.
Cool. Sure. Average works for me.
Boom. Next.
All right. That is it for Anarchs. We're moving to Criminal with a 4-cost console Zamba 2MU. That's pretty nice. Whenever a corp card is exposed, you may gain 1 credit, limit 1 console per player, and 3 influence. All right.
Okay, so clearly we haven't left the exposed stuff yet.
No, which is awesome. I'll also nominate this card for maybe the most boring art of the pack. I'm really not feeling it. Doesn't have the cute factor or something like Maw. Like it might be the most boring looking console I've ever seen. But as far as the effect goes, it's intriguing, right? Exposes back. Where could it go?
Is it?
It's on the verge.
I'm not making that statement, man.
I mean, have you? So Fantasy Flight has released preview articles of cards that could synergize with this. I don't know how much we want to delve into future, stuff that they've talked about, but so I'm saying there's long-term potential here. Short-term potential, I agree, is limited.
Listen, I'll just say that there's no shortage of exposed cards out there, and none of them worked. So you're going to have to prove to me that expose is a thing for me to slot a 4-cost 2-mem console that is going to trigger off expose effects into my deck. Right now, that ain't happening.
Sure. I think in most decks, you don't even consider this, right? But I think there are certain decks that have the potential to use this card even right now. And I think the key card to look at when comboing with this is GPI Net Tap. I think GPI Net Tap is an underrated card from the previous cycle. It has the potential to stack if you get more than one on the board. And if you can lock down the corporation with D-res effects, maybe your lows, you're gaining money, Rubicon switch, whatnot, you can sail towards a piece of ice, expose it multiple times with GPI Net Tap, gain credits out of Zamba, and then use that money to D-res the ice afterwards.
Yeah, because I will say
there's jank there.
I will say that not having a like we've seen in the past, a once per turn, or
right.
There's no ceiling on how many expose effects that you can pull off in one turn and gain a credit for each turn.
Right. Because the other card that does that, which synergizes beautifully with GPI Net Tap, is Amakua. That turtle, you can be sailing towards a piece of ice, GPI Net Tap, for every one you have on the board, you expose an ice, the turtle gains strength, and now you've got a 2 or 3 strength turtle on click 1 of having all of that on the board. So there is some setup, but that's pretty powerful. You're gaining money and strength on a potent breaker all in one. I think this card is kind of a sleeper. It's got potential.
Yeah, maybe this is the the start of what Silhouette needs to build a suite.
There you go.
Well, oh wow. I thought I would never hear that word ever said. Except by one person who is not in the US. Constantine, I remember you. But basically, I feel like, yeah, this feels like another swing at the Silhouette console of choice, right? Clearly this is sort of the plan, because Blackguard was not what it should have been. And I think this is what should have been in that slot. It's inexpensive. Well, excuse me. It's fine as a console. It's not inexpensive for a console. 2MU is pretty good for 4. And then clearly, the expose, it's a niche effect that you'll get that's only going to be it's only going to really be worth it if you stack cards that give you that benefit. And if we're going to be realistic about this, there are a fair number of cards. There are enough cards, I feel like, that give the ability to expose that that can make this worth it. I'm not saying it's going to ever be, obviously it's not going to be Desperado level. Come on now, people. But just being able to sort of play the game and be passive with how you're playing to gain the economy is kind of what you want in Netrunner. Historically, that's been some of the best decks, right? Where you are doing a thing that you were already going to do anyway, and just doing that is what makes you the money. Cards that, if you recall Dan's card, I always refer to Dan's card. But if you recall Dandy Argenio's card, having a card that says, hey, expose something and I do something else, means it's basically gain some information, which in turn gains you, money. And now you get to get a different effect on that card. It helps give you a much larger value out of expose effects. And I don't know if you guys recall, if we go back a year, I think we were talking about the mechanics that were missing in Netrunner.
Yep.
One of the mechanics we talked about was the expose.
Yeah, underuse of expose. Yep.
Yeah, we said, hey, expose is not, when they made this game, I guess they looked at it as, their corp has hidden information the runner doesn't know, and so that is a really big a cornerstone of the game, which it is. But at the highest competitive level, where you know the meta really well, you are aware of the threats, and you can sort of anticipate them based on board state. You understand what can be played based on your opponent's available economy, cards you've seen, and you're counting, what could be available. You minimize that effect, or you minimize the likelihood of you making a mistake based on not having information so much to where exposed became a mechanic that really was unnecessary at the highest levels of play. So, you add that effect back, make it an effect that's that's sort of available a lot. Now all of a sudden, the information game is a whole different sort of economy game. Exposed can become important again, and I like that. I'm a fan of that.
So the problem that I have here is that obviously we're setting up a console for a runner ID that is to be released with 419. But what I would like to see is I think it's going to be a weird balance, right? Because like that is 419 going to be some kind of thing that Reyna tried to be with where you're playing that economy game back and forth and you're playing this denial stuff. We've already seen another kind of expose effect with his art that is name a card type, expose some cards, gain 5 credits, you're gaining money. Now you're gaining money off of this console here. So how much is enough in that money game when you're seeing cards that, like, you're seeing a breaker suite before you needed economy to pay for breakers to get in. So how much money is going to be needed when a breaker suites exist that are not fueled by money, where they're fueled by these virus tokens if that thing catches on and stuff like that. And then it's going to be a weird dance and balance where how many expose effects are you going to have to put in your deck, plus recursions and stuff like that, to get use out of this, unless more cards are designed like infiltration, where gain 2 or expose. So I'm putting one card in that is multi-use. Or like Hollis was alluding to, Deuce's Wild, where it's again a multi-use card that is expose effect is an option on there. So
yeah,
I think this card has potential, but that's gonna have to be flushed out more as this cycle comes along, because right now with the expose effects that are there, I don't know. Nobody played the game before where it was let me go in or let me expose and then go in, because you didn't have time in the state of the game to make that play. Expose was a wasted click. So unless Criminal goes back to what Criminal does best and does some kind of click compression, and it's going to be the old combos where it's like Security Test, Desperado, John Masanori, where you're like, boom, all these events and I'm getting stuff. If it's a built-up expose effect and I'm seeing what's there before I'm going in and taking it, and I'm able to do a lot more on one click, this could be a very, very, very powerful console. But until I see the support for it, I can't back it. And right now, it's not there for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. Like any effect like this, it's got to reach that critical mass, and we have yet to see whether that critical mass is or is going to be achieved. So, yeah, it's one to check back in on, I think.
Yeah. Where are you guys thinking?
I think I'm gonna try to be really optimistic here a lot of the time, and I feel like
man, 2018, welcome, Hollis.
Hey, what do people do every year? They're like New Year, new me.
Happy Hollis.
New Year, new me. Absolutely not. I'm gonna be the same me, but with this card, I think I'm gonna be this one particular card. I think I'm gonna be optimistic. I think people have given a lot of potential. A lot of cards listed, a fair amount of cards listed that could show this card has potential to be a go-to for a style of deck where this benefits heavily. And also, I feel like this is one of the cards that gets better as Jinteki becomes more and more popular, right? Obviously, it has to.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to actually put this in above average.
Above? Man.
Putting above average.
It is.
Put above average, and we're going to see.
I need that Pharrell happy drop.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling at the current state of right now that it was just an average for me, unfortunately. Mr. Hollis. Alec?
Yeah, I got to break the tie here. I'm going to go with average right now, but I agree with you, Hollis, that potential there is pretty tasty. So whatever he gets back.
All right. Do you want to hit the next one?
Average it is.
Yeah.
All right. Moving right along there. In the running for some of the best art of the pack is Puffer. Very, very cool looking 4-cost 1 MU program icebreaker killer out of Criminal. That's 4 influence, so you know it's something special. It's got a 1 credit break sentry subroutine. All right, 2 credits for +1 strength. Ooh, not looking good, but cool ability. You can spend a click to place 1 power counter on Puffer or remove 1 power counter from Puffer. All right. Puffer's strength and memory cost are increased by 1 for each power counter on it, and it starts at 2 strength. So this is wild. This is an effect we've never seen before, being able to selectively put power counters on there, and for that to affect both the strength and the MU. Very interesting. Very interesting. Criminals, I think, have always had kind of unusual sentry breakers, and this is no exception. Definitely perplexing.
What the heck is this?
The art?
This is the card. This is really awkward.
Yeah, it's slow. Sure.
It's. Are you saying what is the art?
No, like the card ability, like how you use the card. It feels very awkward. Okay. So it's obviously efficient for breaking subroutines.
Oh yeah.
But I can increase its strength by either paying 2 or a combo of increasing the MU and spinning a click. And that can go up or down.
Right. Although I don't see many situations where you'd want to go down.
So basically, we play this game. We know that the threshold we look for normally is something at 3 that can handle 3, the strength of 3, and then something that's efficient after 3, for the most part.
Yeah. Sure.
So, I'm not okay. Femme Fatale has always costed 2 to boost 1 strength, right? And it costs 1 to break, but it gives you that sweet ignore a piece of ice, and it costs 9.
Costs 9, yeah.
How much is a click worth to you? If you were to say how many credits is a click worth?
I think of it more as what style of deck are you playing? Are you playing the long-term control game, in which case that click is going to go a long way, because by the midpoint of the game, you've effectively negated big sentries. You can just waltz right through anything. But if you're going for that quick get up and go kind of criminal, I don't think Puffer is your answer. And so in that sense, I think a click is too slow. So I think it's really like archetype dependent. Like, what's your deck trying to do? If your deck can wait around and like get a Deg Deer on the board, get a Leprechaun on the board, slap that Puffer on there, and then just, prepare to win. Like,
so here's my take, and I think I'm going to I'm gonna go a little left field with this. Okay.
All right.
First off, I would like to say that on this show before, when Boggs came on and we asked him what he would like to do, he said he would like to see more things happen with power counters. Here's an example. Whether it was him that adjusted this, after Damon laid a template, or if this was done before, I don't know. But let's just, benefit of the doubt. Bog said power counters. Here's power counters. You guys know my style. I'm very let's look at the details here that are not in text. I think this is a very powerful card. I don't think it's very powerful in criminal. I think this strength of this card, I think the influence of 4 cost is what you're going to see in this cycle. I believe is the influence is stretched a little more to have you make deck building choices, to make things a little different on you. So where I feel that for me I'll be experimenting with this card is if you look at what was saved in revised core, I think you pull this into Shaper, and I think you start to use the Shaper tools that are there, like Shaper's ability to get a lot of memory. Alec, you also played the leprechaun there analogy, but also
or Deg Deer.
Yeah. And also personal touch is still in the game. It was still saved. So I mean, a personal touch on this, 1 or 2 of them, and you are pretty much in a good you're in a good place. Let alone you look at who was saved. You have Chaos Theory. You want to bring out a Dinosaurus. This is a non-AI icebreaker. So having this hosted on Dinosaurus, man, automatically +2 strength. I think you're able to use what Shaper can do best in rig manipulation with Puffer and create some really good synergy.
I'm liking the sound of Dino Puffer. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, man. I think you're spot on. Like, it's gonna be a kind of stretch for criminals to use this effectively, but yeah, if you could selectively tutor this and combo it with the right MU manipulation cards, yeah. Shapers have a couple of good killer options, but if you want one that's gonna last you through the long term of the game, Puffer's pretty legit. Now I gotta ask though, the killer elephant in the room, is this better than Nanotech?
I don't know, buddy. I mean, in faction, I think I'd rather still have Mongoose.
Out of criminal?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm pulling a stretch to use. But like I said, I was going left field with it.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the thoughts. I think they're great. But yeah, it's. I think it's a little bit of a stretch. I'm gonna give. Yeah.
But let's see. You pose the question, and Nanotech during each run, Nanotech has +1 strength for each piece of ice protecting the attacked server. Credit to break a sentry subroutine, or 3 credits for +2 strength. I mean, I think they have their pluses and minuses. I think it's in the long run. I think if you are trying to get a bonus out of Nanotech that is not in your control. I can't get I'm not placing ice there. So unless we go to a Glacier style pump up again, or but something crazy, it's here nor there, right? And I think it's going to be experimenting. I mean, they both cost 4. They're both start at 1. But I think Puffer is going to be worth experimenting with the bonuses that Shaper has.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think I like it very much. But that I think I don't like it because I think I do think nanotech is like in Shaper. I feel like you're going to be more inclined to. I think you might be. It's more likely you're going to be like. You're going to end up in that situation where you're going to be more inclined to pick influence as like the determining factor here, and because Puffer is a 4 influence card, you're probably going to choose. I feel like you're going to choose nanotech most of the time and reserve that for influence to fill other slots. In which case,
but in Shaper you only need one, man. So much ways just to get that out on the board, right?
That's true. That's true, but I also feel like nanotech is a single influence. Nanotech is one memory, and it doesn't increase its memory at all. So that means that also if you're in Shaper and you get to choose nanotech, you don't have to choose cards that are going to boost additional or give you additional MU. You kind of just play based on the natural rig plus console that you would have. Whereas Puffer, I feel like just because it's that combo of it requires influence and would require the additional supports provided by Shaper that you would need otherwise from using nanotech, that makes it a sort of difficult choice to move over. But I can see a combo. People, like if it's hosted on any card, I can see it allows it, effectively free MU. Like you said, Dinosaurus, or oh goodness, what am I thinking of? What's the Degdeer?
Degdeer. Yeah,
like
Degdeer.
I can see it being hosted on Degdeer as well, and that way you can just pump it infinitely, and so it's good in that regard. So maybe that's what it is. And also, again, the other issue is I'm trying to compare this based on existing my existing understanding of the current meta. If the meta is such that high level, really, really strong sentries are the thing that's always dominating, and what you need is Spags in chat made a point about a lot of the Jinteki deck, the Scorps decks with 3 archers. If that's the most common scenario in the meta, and the focus now is the most efficient way to break high level sentries is the biggest concern because that's the most dominant deck. Well, yeah, you're gonna audible to this, right? Because it will be one of the most efficient ways. Just pump, and I'm ready.
Right. Yeah, it's that really balance between like Rush and Glacier and what do you expect to see. And if it's heavy Glacier and you feel like you've got time to get this thing set up, it can be a beast. But maybe it's too slow. And because of that, I give it below average.
I think I have to give this a terrible. I'm kidding. No, I would not do that. I would give this a below average, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. I would have said average right now, because like Paul was saying, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go with centuries in this cycle. So you guys might have to eat your words later, but carry on.
Fair enough. It's the living game.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to the final criminal card. This is Louis Gilherme.
Man, that dude's beard is on point.
Yeah, what a serious look. Very fine. 0 cost, resource connection, 4 influence. Uh-oh. This influence game is crazy, man. That's
a 36-year-old Hollis Echo right on that card.
Woo! I'm so excited.
Yeah, look at that. When your turn begins, either lose 1 credit or trash Louis Gilherme. Whoa, okay. The corpse maximum hand size is reduced by 1. I think this card is fascinating. I think it has some uses in a combo-y sense, but even without a combo sensibility, if you're a criminal that's generating a lot of money, now granted, criminal doesn't have as many ways to generate a crazy number of credits as they used to, but if we get to it, a time,
look at these expose effects, man. This is synergy with the console and everything, right? This is
right.
This is good lead in. I'm sorry to jump in on your thunder, but this is maybe the reason why I'm saying like, if the breakers don't need money to break, what are you going to spend your money on? Well, here you go, right? Like maybe there's other paid effects.
It's legit. It's 0 cost. It's a connection. All cool things. And the ability to mess with the corp in that way, it's pretty subtle. And yes, it's unique, so you can only put 1 down. But you're dropping their hand size from 5 to 4. That's a pretty reasonable increase in average agenda density. And the corp is going to have to respect that. Like, I've played several games in the past against itinerant protesters, right? And getting your hand size dropped as the corp you could start to feel the pinch. And Lou, I think, is a cool part of a larger set of combo puzzles of manipulating the corpse HQ that's really fascinating. So I'm really curious about this one. I want to see where it goes.
Hollis, you go next.
I think this ability is actually better than I thought 30 seconds ago.
There's been some requests for Hollis cosplay next.
Hey, there you go.
My man is wearing a pink suit with the black shirt and a black pocket square. How can I not? How could I not like this is me? I love this.
It's a fine look.
This is This guy looks like he's about business. Okay. But I feel very much when you reduce the runner's hand size, like that sucks, but the runner's like whatever. But when you reduce the corpse hand size, all hands on deck, because things start to get really awkward. You start like it's already awkward enough when the corp is reduced, like when the corp has reduced options based on things in their hand. But you also do things like change. You make any sort of agenda flood potentially worse by reducing the hand size. For obvious reasons, I guess, or maybe it's not actually doing that. Whatever, but it feels like you challenge the court pretty heavily by reducing the number of options in their hand. It makes overdrawing and the fact that they have that mandatory draw very scary.
Yeah, imagine you're at a 5-card hand in HQ. The runner's turn begins. First click, they Fiskadvescent Seminar. You're now at 8. They drop down Louis. They drop down a gang sign. Pass turn. You mandatory draw a 9th card, and your hand size is 4. Like, hello,
rough.
You got to drop so many cards,
right? You gotta play 3 cards immediately, or be prepared to, lose material. And like, what's interesting about that to me is that even if you have cards that you know are going to be playable, even if you have the hedge funds, the IPOs, whatever, the fact remains is that now none of these cards are chum cards that they're pad your hand. If you've got agendas there, well, what is your plan? Because eventually you're going to have to go down somehow. Like this gets pretty rough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, this is pretty...
Hollis.
Pretty cool.
Would you rather take a card or have me lose a card? Alec, would you rather take a card or have me lose a card?
Here's the thing.
I'd rather take a card.
How do you win the game of Netrunner? You find agendas. What does this card do?
I thought you
find agendas.
I thought you decked the corp.
You could also deck the corp if you're feeling like that, which could also play into this archetype. But I'm saying that bump in agenda density, like legworking a hand of 4 versus legworking a hand of 5, it's pretty good.
I'm not sold on it at this point. It is extremely high influence for, I feel, almost the same trade-off as drug dealer. I think, and I don't know, maybe even getting a card, like a card draw for $1 off turn is more of a value to a credit than what this is doing. I just don't see how this balances. So I'm saying there might have to be more to him than meets the eye. But right now I don't see that. I don't think that. I mean, we've all seen how drug dealer works, and we've seen decks. So losing a credit is not an issue to get an effect. But the corpse max hand size being reduced by 1, I don't know if that is worth the trade-off right now. I think to me, I would rather draw a card Because
But here's the other thing. Drug dealer is this non-mandatory effect, right? You lose the credit, you gain the card. You lose the credit, gain the card, and it just goes. With Louis, if you're in a situation, you just turn him off. You're like, Louis, we've had fun, we're done. I'm just going to say no, and then he goes away. So in that sense, it has more flexibility in the sense of having a similar mechanic to drug dealer.
Well, you drive good points, but still, I can't get past on it. To me, right now, this card is below average for me. Until we see something else come out that maybe can work, to his advantage about, more so slimming a hand size or.
For me, I think there's enough cards in the card pool as is to make this guy a compelling option. I think with the combination of Fisk Investment Seminar, Equivocation, and a couple other force draw effects that aren't as strong, but those two cards, like Equivocation and Fisk Investment Seminar, have proven their own as really solid cards, and the fact that they are improved by the corporation having to dump cards with something like this makes this pretty compelling in certain decks. But I do agree it's really limited and pretty niche, and you have to have the economy to support it. And so in that sense, I'd give it an average. Like, potential, but
not too much of a stretch. I thought you were really going to stretch something out here. But...
No. I talk a big game, but I gotta be real.
Are we waiting on Hollis?
I think I'm actually gonna, man. I'm putting it below average for now. I think I am. I think I'm trying to, like, it feels like it could be so good. It has a potential to, like, really, like, just mess things up really badly for the corp. And then I was like, yeah, but how am I gonna, like, what else am I doing with it after that? Like, after I reduce your hand size, am I limited to just having to play Laramie Fisk and trying to, use it that way? Is that the plan?
No, it's like HQ interface, gang sign, pressure HQ. Maybe you're Steve. Maybe you're Gabe.
And I even thought maybe I could, like, reduce my opponent's. If I could hurt the corp's credits. But I'm like, man, we have so much less of that right now. You know what I mean? Compared to a year ago.
Sure. Well,
we can't hit their credits.
I'll also say this hard counters the rampant IQ and Ashigarus that are ruining the meta. So there you go. Boom. Countered. All right.
Well,
fair enough.
And it doesn't. Its effect doesn't stack. So I mean.
Sure.
Right, like the corpse max hand size is reduced by 1. It still resets the next turn, right? So, like, it doesn't go from like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sure, it stays at 4, but
yeah.
Alrighty, old Louis, keeping it going.
We'll see.
All right,
he prefers Lou,
but I will consider cosplaying him heavily.
There you go. So
that suit looks baller.
High marks for art, high marks for class. We'll give it to that one.
Did you just drop a purple little dude in the purple shirted?
No, that was just, that was just an emoji.
Oh, so the shirt color there is coincidence?
Yeah, just coincidence. Just coincidence.
Okay. If your next little emoji is high Steve Jobs turtleneck right there,
then also let me ask this while I am here. Is this suit purple or is it pink?
I thought it was pinkish.
I thought it was straight pink. Red, but in a blue light. Like the lighting around him looks blue. I think it's a red suit.
No,
but you be the judge.
Pinkish purple.
I don't know. Someone in chat tell us what color that is.
Okay, good.
Cyberdelia.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
What's your Cyberdelia?
We're on to Shaper now. This is a 3-cost hardware chip. Oh yeah, 1 MU. And it says the first time you break all subroutines on a piece of ice each turn, you may gain 1 credit for 3 influence. All right. So we know mem chips, right? We've seen a lot of mem chips. 4 costs got you 2 MU. 1 cost got you 1 MU. So you're paying 2 extra credits to get a maybe once per turn 1 credit, but you gotta find ice and you gotta break it. It's a tough deal. Honestly, I'm thinking the only deck that really looks at this is maybe a stealth deck, because you're converting those essentially free runs into credits now with this. Yeah. But honestly, outside of that, I think Shaper has a lot better options. And for 3 influence, it's not going anywhere else.
Sorry, had to keep it real in chat. So yeah, I think this is bad. And the reason why I think this is bad is because unless things are drastically different when this pack comes out, we are still not in a scenario where people need gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of memory. It doesn't happen. Nowadays, people basically get the memory from their console and they say to themselves, how do I make the most out of the available memory that I have without going overboard? Occasionally, they'll make exceptions. Occasionally. But
pump that puffer.
Yeah, like occasionally people will make exceptions, but I don't think that's a common thing that happens in the existing meta. And because of that, it makes me think that a card, it is nice that it gives money from breaking all subroutines on a piece of ice, but sometimes you don't want to break all subroutines on a piece of ice. How about this? I bet there are scenarios where you would actively decide to not break a certain subroutine because it would have no effect, and now you would spend the credit anyway just to gain a credit. So this card is not even always better unless you had a card that even like another card that triggered off of breaking all subroutines on a piece of ice. So when I'm looking at this, I am not confident that, number one, paying 3 for extra MU is super beneficial for 1 extra MU. But I also don't think the effect is even that good. I don't think so. I think people are going to find. I think some people may find slots for this, but I feel like for the most part, if you don't need MU, the next question you're going to ask is, how do I gain economy in a way that doesn't cost 3? And I don't see people slotting this in over something else. I feel like it's very difficult. I do think that a stealth deck is more likely to use something like this because they get the biggest benefit from the free run concept, right? Because they're to boost barely cost them anything. They usually pay at cost per sub, so you're getting an additional value back. When I think about the tools necessary for stealth, this would be another cog in the wheel to gain value, and I don't think they want to slot this in for that value.
Yep.
Okay, so here's my thoughts. Breakdown. I think what you're going to see is this potentially could be the new standard for cost. This is the influence. This is because of bit mining. There's a cost now that's about a premium for memory. Akamatsu mem chip, the 1-for-1, those days are over, man. Over. You looked at back in the day, Cyber Solutions mem chip, the 4-for-2, not even happening, right? The one that was saved was Dyson. Dyson was 3-for-1 and a link, right? 3 credits for 1 plus something else. That's exactly the equivalent here, right?
Yep.
But what we have here is Shaper already has. You're probably already playing with some kind of weird console. You're probably playing with some other stuff. Shaper shouldn't really have a problem getting memory. This thing here, you're going to get one credit the first time. I can't even stack that effect. The only thing I see this happening, Alec, you said it. Let's say it's probably could be pieced in stealth. Stealth isn't the dominant force out there right now in the runner game. Will this see play? Probably not. Me personally, I would rather have drip effect economy than what this is providing me. This is bad for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue this one. Woo! I'm going to rate it bad as well.
Put this on the list under terrible.
Well, you're noted, but you're outvoted.
Yeah.
Can you put it's gonna? I want this to be on the bottom of the bad right now.
Yeah. it sure is. It's at the top and bottom of bad.
Right,
yeah, no, I think bad is definitely appropriate, and I think only as we see more cards, which is really sad. I don't think this is going to be the worst card we see in the cycle. That's not a knock to the development of the cycle. I'm just saying there's going to be worse cards. Because I don't think, when I think about all the bad cards it could be, even though I'm putting this as terrible, I really don't think this card is terrible.
So, yeah, Dave just said, if you can get them down cheaply, you can probably stack the effects. So maybe it's worth it there, but... I mean,
like honestly, workshop.
I just wait till Dave figures it out.
Hollis, that's exactly it. I was going to say this card makes me cry a little bit. Personal Workshop is not in the game because this would be the perfect candidate for that to just drip on out.
You can modded it, but you know what I mean. But
is that worth it at that point? Like what else?
Right. Like
what have you not used your modded on that you have it in there for this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you might as well just modded something else.
It's in the books.
Alrighty.
Up your game with the next one.
Let's up ya up. It is 0 cost, 1 MU, non-unique program. Just put that out there. It says whenever you make a successful run on R&D, you may place 1 power counter on up ya, and you could spend a click and 3 hosted power counters to gain click. Use this ability only once per turn, and it is 3 influence. Ooh. I think this is the combo maker's next intriguing puzzle. How do you get the Upya combo to go off and do crazy shaper things? We have seen examples of in the past of, having triple hyperdriver, super turns, score 3 notoriety, apocalypse their board, all that jazz. So there are combos like that would benefit from this in the game. So this is a pretty compelling option if that's the kind of style of deck you're going for.
Hollis?
It's a passive ability, but it requires an immune. Generally, effects like this, I agree with you, Alec, especially if it's clicks. Usually, effects like this are things that are going to effects like this are things that combo makers love. They want to be able to say, "I'm getting this click, and then I get another one," and then they basically there's a group of players that enjoy being DJ Khaled. And so they love the opportunity when they're playing the game to be just another one. They love that. And I feel like it's past. I mean, you're going to hit R&D, right? Like R&D is the place to be. Rhyming unintentional. And I feel like if you're already going to be making these runs on R&D, this is a card that can just come out, just sit, and just gain you the occasional click. Now, my only reservation is I don't know how good this is. Really, I feel like it's very difficult to rate. The fact that it takes an MU is off-putting, obviously, right? I don't want this to take up an MU, but that's Shaper's sort of like part of Shaper's kit. It has been since the beginning. Really neat niche effects on programs, not on hardware, as much on resources. That's what they've always done. And when I think about a Shaper rig now, I mean, I can see them having the space for one of these. My question would be, is it ever going to be the case where they have multiples of these?
I think only in a situation where you want to pull off some huge combo.
Yeah.
Man.
Otherwise, it's compelling Aesop's target. I'll put that out there. 0 cost. Use it once, or if you feel like you're not going to use it, Aesop it away.
Yeah, that's true. That is
Haley
true.
likes it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What were you saying, Jameson?
I just think that there's if there's something here, my buddy Dave in the UK, Dave Saya, we'll figure this out. There'll be some kind of weird diaper build, and he'll he'll rep the hell out of it. But that being said, it's very interesting because a click, 3 hosted counters, you gain 2 clicks. I didn't really see All-Nighter played that much. And that's pretty much what this card was all about, right? Like, unless we see something coming crazy, like All-Nighter wasn't unique. It was less influence. All you had to do was play it and click and trash it, and you got 2 clicks.
Yeah,
it takes any memory.
Yeah.
So what am I missing here that now whenever I make a successful run on R&D, I can place a power counter on it? Is this just another way to put some power counter stuff out there? I mean, like,
to me, the only real big benefit of this at all is that, number one, I guess you could have multiples of this somehow because it's not unique. And beyond that, whereas All-Nighter is a one-time use, because All-Nighter you trash, right, to gain the 2 clicks.
Yep.
There is the potential that you could get more clicks total out of this because it remains on the board. But clicks are good. Like like having extra clicks is always good. You can turn that into a value somewhere, whether it just be drawing an extra card or whatever you can normally do with the click. It could also be as valuable as a resource to let you gain a hefty amount of money or being able to make another run or something like that. I guess my issue is that knowing that clicks are additional clicks are good. The question here is this MU slot and the way and like how many counters plus this effect, like for this effect, to get this effect and to lose the 1 MU, is that now too much? All-Nighter was a 0 cost resource, and there's no limit on resources. You're limited on MU. So to use Upya, however you pronounce it, requires a deck built around you being able to keep all these in play. And now we're getting into a whole different. When we start going down that rabbit hole, the conversation changes. The question is the deck archetype that supports multiples of these worth it? Is it worth only having 1 if that's all you can really support? Are free clicks? I don't know. It's difficult. I think I feel like this is actually kind of hard to rate. I may be other people may disagree. To me, that makes it a bit difficult to rate. I don't know.
I'll agree with you.
Interesting design space that they went with power counters. Again, power counter is probably the new go-to. If this was printed back in the day, this would probably be a virus counter. There would probably be some kind of more synergy going on with it. It'd probably be a little more costed differently because you can purge off and then you can build like some kind of provoke the purge deck.
Yeah, the deck that this goes in, I think, is so niche and so kind of combo-y that I agree, Hollis. It's hard to evaluate. Like, is it the thing that takes that super equivocation or apocalypse combo deck like to tier 2 to tier 1.5? Like, is this the sauce, or is this just like a little extra nice? It's not even spice. It's like, if you're equivocating, you get 3 more runs if you've got 3 fully charged up Upyas.
And
is that enough?
And in Shaper, we have the available tools to take advantage of the additional click the most, because we have the cards that give us a lot of information to play combo cards. If you were, like, we have the ability to say indexing the runs we made on R&D, so on and so forth. And now, so I'm indexing runs we made on R&D. Now I've got these counters, and then the ability to say, now that I know what's there, here's a mad dash. Here's a piece in our time, or what have you. Like,
do cards like this give away too much of your strategy, though?
I mean,
you put this down. I'm pretty sure you're going to try and run R&D on me.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're
not. I'm not saying that because you want to get into R&D anyway. But right. I mean, like to me, I just feel like more often than not, you're probably going to try and hit R&D. So all I got to do is just kind of throw some, and who knows when this comes up, right? Like if this comes up early and you put it down and you don't have your full breaker suite out, and I'm just able to block you, and I can shut you down for maybe most of the game until you're digging for that breaker to get you out, and then I'm just I've got my next piece up at R&D. And then at what point is the trade-off coming in where you're spending whatever resources you have built up, credits, cards, counters, whatever your breaker things are, currency, to get in to build up one counter. And then to be able to do that multiple times where I have a set of 3 power counters on, because right now we're not seeing that synergy where I am able to move power counters, reallocate power counters, gain additional power counters. If that comes, this is going to be something. Right now, this card is nothing.
And it feels like, I feel like it's 3 power counters, and it's 3 power counters, and I don't know how many. If I'm on the corp side and I see this card come out, I'm in emergency R&D mode immediately because I want to reduce the overall number of successful runs on R&D to reduce the number of possible bonus clicks. But now so that goes without saying, right? You see this card, that's probably going to be your plan. There's benefits, right? It opens up HQ, opens up other opportunities to attack. It may mean I can't build my remote server as early as I would like. Fantastic. That's a positive for seeing this card, because it's going to make me that D is my defense goes up immediately on R&D. But then the other aspect of this is it also doesn't remove Shaper from being able to use other tools that can attack HQ, remove other tools that let them attack a remote server by splashing in via influence, and still have those Shaper tools in faction.
You're talking about Sneak Door and stuff, right?
Right. They still have the tools from they can pull out of other factions to attack remotes, attack HQ, and force me into that weird play where it's okay. I've been so worried about Upya that now I've left HQ a little vulnerable, and so on and so forth. And then I have to also think on the corp side. Let's say that I allow 2 of these to be in play, and a total number of 2 of these to get in play, and each of them are able to achieve, 6 counters over the course of the game. So 12, roughly 6 successful runs on R&D, roughly, right? Because if they're out at the same time, they all stack anyway. I basically would allow 4 clicks then. If each one has 6 counters, I've given the runner 4 clicks.
It's basically a better designed deep thought. And if deep thought was your thing back in the day, well, now you have a straight up 1 for 1.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Now you have a straight 1-for-1 replacement for it. So, yeah. I mean, Alec, you like clicks? I like clicks, but I don't need clicks this bad. I don't need clicks this bad, man.
I agree with you, man. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, even in the decks that want this card, it's a hard sell. So, yeah, I got to give this a straight up bad.
Yeah,
it's like
I'm going as well too. Hollis, you got anything else to say that's crazy? Or
I hate to draw this out, but I'm trying my hardest to do math that makes sense here. If you have 2 in play, 6 counters on each. Okay, that's 4 additional clicks. Sorry, that's 4 additional clicks. If a click is worth just under 2 credits, all right, there's a value there. Okay, but it costs a click to play it.
But here's the problem, Hollis. You're putting this card in to, if you're going for the big combo, set up this amazing turn of having all the right pieces, equivocation, apocalypse, whatever. But you also have to make successful runs on R&D to get this to work at all. So the time that you could be spending drawing, installing, preparing, you're getting into R&D somehow. Like, it's this weird, you have mid-range requirements to accomplish a long-term goal. By then, honestly, I think the Corp has already won the game.
Yeah. It's an awesome way just to say it. You look at the turns. That's why when I talk about all-nighter, you look at the cards that give you click bonuses that are great, So what if it's a one-time thing? Boom, put it down. You look at what Hyperdriver did, for those diaper decks. So what if it was a one-time thing? 3 clicks, right? Like, that was still manageable. And that got removed from the game, man. Right? Like this is too much. I can't invest in this right now unless power counter manipulation becomes a thing. I don't know if we'll go down that road, but it's something that we might see.
Yep.
Man,
I'm gonna put this as a bad. Also,
unanimous. Most interesting card I feel on the runner side that I'm glad it's the last one.
Here it is.
Cue it for me.
The sauce.
Yeah.
It's back, baby. We got an Apex card for you. Oh boy. It's a doozy. It's a 5-cost virtual resource assimilator. 5 influence. Holy cow. So it's got something crazy. You could spend 2 clicks to turn one of your face down installed cards face up.
Oh, but
if that card happens to be an event, because you've used Apex ability to put down an event, which you're allowed to do, you then trash that card. So no installing events. But for any other card, virtual, non-virtual, program, whatever, it's now installed.
Yeah. You had an interesting theory when we were talking before about this, Alec. You want to get into why it says if that card is an event, trash it?
Yeah. My theory on this is it just covers all the bases with regards to rules. Like, if you didn't have that text on there and somebody used Apex, puts down an event, uses Simulator, flips it face up, there's going to be people who are like, what do we do? What do we do? What happens? I don't know. Is it trashed? Is it not? And rather than putting that eventuality into the FAQ, just print it on the card. There's plenty of space. So, yeah, that's my thought on that. So that part of the text, I think, is useful but kind of irrelevant for the purposes of our evaluation. But what it does, though, what do you guys think?
I think this is really friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that what?
I'm reading this card again. This is so cool.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Well, you get caught up in the moment, Hollis. Start spewing your thoughts.
No, dude, no, I just can't. I'm smiling. I can't help it.
You've got 25 influence as Apex, right? And there's a whole swath of the card pool that you just didn't look at because you couldn't bring in virtual, non-virtual resources, right? Now this card comes out, and you're like, wait a second. I can get Aesop up in this joint. Like, oh my God.
This is killing me. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna put Monolith in my Apex deck.
Right.
So what's flipping me out right now is not even necessary. Like, it's clearly good. Man, it's clearly good. Period. I think this card is good. This is nuts.
For Apex, yeah.
For Apex, this is absolutely
cool. Here's where the nutso part comes in. This is the interaction that's blowing my mind, right? You've got Cyber Cypher face down.
Okay.
Because you put it down there.
Okay.
And you flip Cyber Cypher face up. It's now installed. Because you didn't install Cyber Cypher, using the normal, putting it down and installing it, it's now just a decoder at 4 strength, 1 to pump, 1 to break. It just works.
That's pretty neat.
It's pretty phenomenal.
So, oh wow. So really, this single individual card gets around a lot of the limitations imposed by playing an Apex deck. Like, it basically immediately says, hey, your deck is like completely different now. Like, before you didn't want to use virtual events because they weren't playable. Now, surprise, like Dokes off of decks are surprise, mother. Like, that's basically what is occurring here. And so now deck building changes massively, or potentially massive. Like I think now if you run 5x, I think you probably run 5x assimilator, and deck building changes pretty significantly here, right? I think you maybe even take the risk and consider running cards that you wouldn't normally run because they're very efficient and easily able to play. A few come to mind, but you don't get the counter from Femme Fatale, which sucks, but you do get the benefit of Cyber Cypher being able to work on any server, and that's awesome. I am really excited to see what people do with this, and I hope so much that someone has something great and fun to play with, even if it's not the best deck. This is like this really is really powerful for Apex. It's kind of nuts, actually.
It's like catnip for Apex players. It's unbelievable. Like, you get this card, and the possibilities are numerous. I love the suggestion in chat, by the way, of Rachel Beckman. That hadn't even occurred to me, and that is so phenomenal.
Oh my gosh!
Just like, yep, there's Rachel. There she is. It was free.
Oh, you're gonna use Rachel to get one additional click?
Yeah, man.
And you don't even
get that
have to
click
run
rebate.
You don't even have to run R&D 3 times for it.
Oh, that's some value right there. Nah. Yeah. I think it's super cool. And if you're Apex, like, you're already considering virtual resources, and maybe you're running the old career fair there, right? You get this down for 2. You start to flip some stuff, get some value. Man.
So I'm gonna just turn on the taps, and words are just gonna come spewing out of my mouth like normally right now. So I'm really excited to see this card. I think from a faction that I've always kind of been interested in, that I've kind of mucked around with, when these mini factions came out, I think that it is a key to a door that is phenomenal for deck building choices. Look at that. That 99% of the time, we assume so, that the 5 influence and the abilities of these face down cards and whatnots are going to be staying inside of Apex. I think all the Apex players are rejoicing for this, to be able to start looking at something that Apex had a weakness on, which was generating money. So if you're able to put this down, I know five's hefty, man. You're lifting for 5, but
yeah.
But so hopefully the return on investment of those cards that you're turning up are saving you that money. One thing that was really crazy about Apocalypse was timing. If you didn't see Apocalypse early enough in the game where you weren't completely set up, man, it hurt. But you still wanted to drop it just because you were that guy. And now, you're able to, if you Apocalypse and you can get this out on the table, maybe, you can do a little recovery. So your strongest card is not only, affecting you anymore. You have something that you can recover from your own abilities, which I think is needed. The problem with this whole thing is I don't know if it's going to work the way we're talking it up. I feel that we are on the Superman ride at Six Flags, and we are going up, and the hype train is in full effect. But for some reason, I want to say when you start playing with it, you are going to be as let down as you were when this card didn't exist.
Damn. Yeah. I get what you're saying, man. It's got so many cool uses, but you have to find the right cards at the right time to make it effective. And I think even if its heights of efficiency, it's still just good. And at its lows of efficiency, it's a real bummer. Like, that it doesn't quite sync up with your deck. It doesn't quite sync up with the cards you put down. It's slow. I get what you're saying. But that free monolith, though.
That's what I'm talking about too, man.
Damn, yeah.
If Apex can get monolith online from this, sweet.
Tasty. Yeah. So I don't know. If I had to give it a rating, again, it's kind of hard, like Hollis was saying about some earlier cards, because the deck it fits in is so niche that you're really only rating it for Apex. But I think for Apex players, like, this is at least an above average card for those decks. Like, it's a little extra shot in the arm, and if someone more creative than I am with Apex, like, comes up with some cool combos of things, I think it can be the sauce in those decks. That's my thought.
I don't see this. I don't see that this is the card that saves Apex. I just see that this is the card that is thematic, or not thematic, that plays with his ability of face down cards, and it fills the need for more in faction cards in the mini factions that have some kind of deteriorate on them to not pull them out of faction as quickly. You know, you really saw that with Sunny. Sunny's Breaker Suite was really good, and you were able to export that too easily.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really hard to balance these mini factions, but this is not the card that's going to do really anything for it. Mini faction players are going to love it. I like it to see the boost there, but I'm going to say this is just average. I don't see this tilting Apex up. I don't see it tilting Apex down. I think Apex is still going to be just doing what Apex does, and that's just having fun with a card game.
I think, though, I want to just put this in here. If Apex is going to get to a point of shows up at a high-level tournament in the way that Sunny has now and then, people will point to this card as like the first step to getting there. That this is really like
this is the second coming.
This is right. This is like, I agree. It's not the thing that gets Apex there, but it's starting. It's beginning. It's inspiring.
With every long journey begins with a single step.
Correct.
This is the first brick in the road.
It is. I think so. Yeah. And for that, I think it's fascinating. But I agree. It's not breaking the meta.
I think you're using all the words that I want to use, but I just don't think it's. I just think it's not improving his situation right now. This card is, and plus for the fact that it can't be used out of faction, or it can, it can, but you don't want to.
Right.
So
which is why
it's got to be, to me, it's got to be average.
Okay, that's fair.
And where are you saying above?
Yeah, but within the confines of just Apex himself, within Apex decks, not within the card pool as a whole. That's sort of my caveat there. But that's kind of what the card is making me do. It's making me look at just Apex.
Yeah. Let's send it over to Hollis. Hollis, are you there?
So, what did you rank it, Alec?
I gave it the old above average.
What did you rank it, Jameson?
Average. I know it's not going any higher than above average for you. I know. And you're about to make a drastic swing for the fences on 2 strikes.
I'm going to put... If I was rating just Apex, this card is great.
Okay.
Wow.
If I was looking at just Apex, this card is like, it's a great card. Just, it would be immediately great. In the context of the rest of the card pool, and if this card's playable anywhere else.
So if you were saying if you have an Apex deck and I have an Apex deck, you're playing with this card and I'm not, this card is going to be that big of a difference?
I'm playing this card. If I'm playing Apex, I'm playing this card.
I don't think it tilts it any which way, man.
I think if I play Apex, I think I play this card because of two reasons. One, it makes the face down cards not just trash to discard. They actually can actively become usable instead of me having to go through the route of trashing it, getting it back, putting it into play.
You don't know that, like, I think everything is cool. I think Alec gave you all the scenarios, man. He's got the playbook. The ability to port virtual cards into Apex, I think is amazing. But I think that things got to line up, and I don't think things are going to line up.
Yeah, but if you are playing Apex against Apex, right? Your current Apex builds have only but so much they can do because of that limitation. And so the decks have really stagnated over the past months, years, whatever, because you just can't pull in that much. But now this card comes along, and all of a sudden, you can start to think outside this box that you have. You could start to imagine greater power levels. And I think you'd be surprised what these deck builders can come up with. So within the sphere of Apex, I think it's not nothing.
But let me tell you, man, with greater power levels come greater responsibility levels.
Here we go.
Uncle Jameson.
Yeah.
Tell us how it is.
No, okay, Hollis, finish off your thoughts and
sorry.
Give us a rank.
I'm gonna in the world, if I'm just looking at Apex, I think the card is great. I think the card's great. If I'm gonna compare it to the rest of the card pool, I think the actual card is average. Because it doesn't lend itself anywhere. It doesn't lend it where the hell does it lend itself to that isn't Apex? Like in a legitimate way that makes sense. At 5 influence and at a 5 cost.
Yep. I guess it comes back to, like, how are we reviewing these cards, right? Are we reviewing them within the context of what they do for the game? Or what they do for runners as a whole? And if a small part of the game is really enthusiastic Apex players, and this is the sauce,
small.
If it improves, like, the positivity of the game in a measurable way, even as small as it is, like, I think that's cool. But we're all gonna rate it differently for different, from different perspectives, and
that's what makes
looking at different things.
That's what keeps the people coming back.
That was rough, dude. That was hard for me to.
We finished with a real heater there. My goodness.
You know what though? I think that it's obviously yes. I mean, I think the mini faction ones are going to be hard to rate, right? But I think you do partly you have to look at it is a card. It is in the game. And I mean, hell, if the right thing comes along that synergizes out a faction with that, someone's gonna pay it to pull it.
Yep.
So that's how it breaks down, fellas. That's how we saw it this week.
Boom. Nailed it.
That's our views in the world, the wide world of sports.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for helping us kick off 2018. Thank you very much for coming back. Really appreciate everything. You guys tuning in. The support for Bad Publicity. We'll be back next week, again at this semi-early-ish time with the other half of this pack. Until then, Jameson, Hollis, Alec, we'll catch you guys on the nets, man. We're out for now.
Have a good night, everyone.
Take care.